God who made heaven and earth. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? I have been young and I'm now older, but I have never seen the righteous forsaken. Lord God, see begging for bread. Oh, taste and see. The Lord is good and God's mercy endureth forever. They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up on wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. But when I think of the goodness of Jesus, oh, he keeps on moving. Oh, he keeps on moving. Oh, he keeps on moving. My soul cries out. My soul cries out. No protocol, but God said to skip that. So I'm just going to recognize God, Bishop Davis, Supervisor Rev Davis, Bishop Brian, and everybody else. Empowering the people. Empower means to enable or permit to give power or authority to. Richard Allen's life exemplified spiritual power. A liberation theologian who knew something about transformation. An abolitionist, one that was inclusive in law and had a holistic ministry, who knew that we should be global and not local. In the life experience and gospel labors of the Right Reverend Richard Allen, around about page 27, after the African supplement, written April 6th, 1791, because we had to tell people to leave us alone. So letting the Methodist Episcopal Church know we were going to be by ourselves. So we need no help. On page 27, he has a prayer called the Acts of Hope. The latter part of it said, whoever hopes for the great things in this world takes pains to attain them. How can my hopes of everlasting life be well-grounded if I do not strive and labor for that eternal inheritance? I will never refuse the meanest labors while I look to receive such glorious wages. I will never repine at any temporal loss while I expect to gain such eternal rewards. Blessed hope, be thou my chief delight in life, and then I shall be steadfast and unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. But thou my comfort and sword, support at the hour of death, and then I will contently leave this world as a captive that's released from his imprisonment. So I was kind of thinking about all of the things that are colliding today, a midwinter meeting, celebrating our founder's 258th birthday. And I was reminded that there's absolutely nothing new under the sun. I was watching the news all day. I knew there was nothing under the sun. As I listened to made-up news, and heartless news conferences blaming children for being killed, I thought about a word that needed to be about spiritual renewal and resurrection and repair of all of our barriers and breaches and divisions and dissensions and confrontations and competitions. So the Lord sent me over to Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, I'll begin reading at the 9th verse. And you shall know that I am the Lord when I open your graves and bring you up from your graves, O my people. I will put my spirit within you, and you shall live. And I will place you on your own soil. Then you shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken and will act, says the Lord. The topic for this evening is hold on to your hope. Hold on to your hope. The focus text is a parable of God's people and the called out and how we can experience restoration even in the midst of despair. Ezekiel, God's strength, was a visionary prophet and a watchman, given a mission by God to minister to a rebellious, faithless, spiritless, and defeated people during the exile, the diaspora, the scattering of Israel and Judah. He had been proclaiming God's word for 22 years, and still the people would not listen. Temples were being torn down, and they were scattered and killed and imprisoned. And on the 10th anniversary of their deportation, a once proud and mighty people stood separated from their land and their temples and their families, and many had separated themselves from God. They had not listened to the instruction about obedience. They tried to run their own show. They forgot their heritage and opted to be like those that had been their captors. They became stiff-necked, stagnant, and stupefied, and shameless people. Perhaps they thought they could get by treating people any way that they wanted to. Perhaps they thought God was not paying attention to their actions. Maybe some of them even began to think that they themselves were God. God was not pleased, and so God begins to teach the Israelites about suffering and hope and transformation and restoration. In the text, 4,600 enslaved persons had been forced to walk 900 miles to the Tel Aviv in the Valley of the Tigris and the Euphrates, where the Pishon, the Gihon, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers flow. They had lost their hope, their expectation, their attainment, their trust, their belief, their faith, that anything could be different. They were parched and dry and lifeless. They slipped into a form of spiritual death, insidiously sliding into societal graves of lifelessness, exhausted from cloistered towering and gated covenanting and property gentrifying and assault excusing and melanin privileging, brain fog from saber rattling and warmongering and immigrant obstructing and racialized hiring and culture appropriating and gender evaluating and selective policing, dull from poor, starving, quota admitting, bigotry accepting, color embracing, bigotry biasing, child trafficking, faint from religious demonizing and post-trolling and life executing and liturgy colonizing and affluenza sentencing and behavior exclusion. They were listless from healthcare withdrawing and elder warehousing and media shaming and race dividing and cyberbullying. They drained from love commodifying and war funding and lifestyle debasing and relationship critiquing and political pandering and privacy vetting. They were fatigued from truth fabricating and insanity tweeting and memo editing and global stereotyping and linguistic lynching, linguistic lynching, linguistic lynching, linguistic lynching, linguistic lynching, linguistic lynching, and human euthanizing and resource hoarding, and they were dying day by day. In the vision, God takes Ezekiel to a valley and instructs him to walk around observing the decimation of a people now dead and dry and dull, lifeless fragments of the promise of yesterday. No clothing, no faces, no identification, no hair, no cultural markers, just street piles of the refuge of what they had once been. And in the heat of the day, in this vision, Ezekiel walks around. I imagine he wondered, whose son's leg bone is this? Whose mother's skull is this? What promise lay in this fragment of bone? Who mourned them? Who missed them? Who cared that they were no longer there? Can you imagine the bones of 4,600 people? There are 206 bones in the human body. That is 947,600 bones and bone fragments laying in the valley. Now dusty fragments splintered and scattered in the valley for over a century. The remains of a once faithful people had become reduced to fragments that you go on Sunday morning and they blow out of the sanctuary. And the leftovers look beyond repair. And God, as my mama would say, had the temerity to ask, can these bones live? Is it possible to restore life in the midst of broken dreams and broken relationships and broken promises and broken aspirations and broken ministries and broken spirits and people that have been pronounced dead sometimes from the pulpit? Could God restore hope to a people that were once faithful but are teetering on the edge of hopelessness? Hope seemingly had been relegated to the edge of the past and the margins of society. Hope was once a song in a weary throat. evidence not seen but believed. Hope was the validation that one day every mountain would be made low and every valley would be exalted. Hope was shelter in the time of storm. Hope was the unmerited grace of God. Hope was the hesed, steadfast love of God. Hope was nicknamed joy and peace and faith, depending on the need of her friends. Yeah. Well, hope had been popular, but hope became abandoned, overlooked, and discarded. People used to come from everywhere to see hope, but now the marquee didn't match up to what went on inside, and so they were always looking for hope, but they were finding something else when they showed up. Darkness used to give way to light when hope came around, but hope was filled with such promise, but now it was seemingly cut short. Hope was once synonymous with joy, but hope seemed to be on life support every Sunday morning. Listen to the symptoms of hope's demise: intelligence and personhood and belief system and family structure and sexuality chaos. 2 steps forward, 13 steps backward. Brick ceilings replacing stained glass ceilings. Overworked and underpaid. No time to work on our own grief and disappointment. Last hired, first fired, name calling. Charged for being demonic because her minions wanted to do one thing and she was trying to follow the Lord. Jokes to keep her in her place. And some say hope was healthy until she started following everything she saw on YouTube. Even the family members began to disown hope. In the latter days, hope's shoulders slumped under the weight of responsibility. After every election, progress was stalled because people that have sacrificed had to look at their children who wouldn't even go to the polls. The smile that usually greeted people was now downturned and sour. The energetic body movements were perfunctory gestures. The sharp mind was nulled with disappointment. Hope was sitting in the midst of brokenness with no growth, choked off by weeds of fear and frustration and fatigue and feeling unappreciated, suicidal, but something was keeping her tethered. Listen to Hope's obituary in the Jerusalem Post, the Judah Times, and the Galilee Times, dispatch, hard copy, and digital. Thank you very much. At 12:01 a.m. around midnight, between the darkness of yesterday and the dawn of today, hope seemed to pass on. Hope slipped into a valley experience that people could not revive her, like Israel down in the valley, unable to imagine anything other than that current position, had tunnel vision because they were only allowed one dreamer in a century and nobody else seemed to have a prophetic voice. No new revelation because of spiritual astigmatism. So busy looking what God had done for something else, you couldn't see what God had done in her life. No prophetic insights due to competitive conjunctivitis. Always comparing themselves to what God was doing for their neighbor. No quest for freedom or equality due to myopic leadership based on what we did. We never did it that way. And I want to do what was done necessary today. So busy posting about death and disappointment and destruction of the church, never considered searching for what was living in the church already. In the text, God questions Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Do you believe, Ezekiel, that life can come out of death, that lives of families and communities and churches can come back? Do you believe that hope can be resurrected from fragments of faith? And Ezekiel knew that his mind wasn't big enough to give God an answer. So that's what happens in preaching sometimes. We preempt God and give our answer instead of waiting for God to give the answer. And so he just said, God, you know. God says, in order to show you that I'm God, I'm going to take these old, dusty, dry, lifeless, spiritless bones and put them back together again, inside and out, bone to flesh. I'm the potty, you're the clay. And according to the text, God does not tell Ezekiel to touch the bones, move the bones, put oil all over the bones, cover the bones with a blanket, fan the bones, throw money at the bones, direct deposit the bones, or post a picture of the bones on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. He just said, talk to the bones. God doesn't guarantee that he's going to have an audience or a book deal or a television show or internet hit. God gives an assignment with built-in expectations. Say the word, Ezekiel. Proclaim to these dead and lifeless and hopeless bones, say, hear my word. The people need to hear a revelation from me, and they will not perish if you just do what I tell you. They'll be written out of history if they don't listen. They depended on someone else for so long, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, that they forgot that I am God. God needs you to come on and preach with him. Proclaim Ezekiel. Tell them the painful, unadulterated, yet life-affirming truth. Breath will enter them and they will live again. So Ezekiel preached. He didn't borrow a sermon from the internet. He didn't search out 1,000 old out-of-date sermon illustrations. He didn't stand in the mirror and practice his hoop. He didn't have his pocket queued up before he opened his mouth. He didn't request more bass in the microphone like he needed it in the first place. He didn't check his Bible app on his iPad. It's in the text. In the valley, standing before the fragments, Ezekiel preaches a 7-word, 4-second sacred text based on prophetic sermon. Bones, hear the word of the Lord. 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 Now I know y'all went to Sunday school or pretended to, and great exegetes and homiletics professors and everything, but I got to go back to my roots. My grandmother, Tessie Bernice Ray Park, taught me this way. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear there must be a God somewhere. So we know our cultural story. A charge begins to run from one end of the plain to the middle of the valley and the other. And just like in the beginning when the Spirit moved all across the chaos and everything came into order. And can you see through Ezekiel's eyes and hear through Ezekiel's ears? We rush around so much and make so much noise sometimes we miss God's voice. But can you see the change? Bones coming together, rattling and clicking and clanging in the valley. Bones connecting to other bones. A toe rolling over here. Dirt connecting in the dirt. And toes coming forward, making arches, bones, and all. There are 9,600 tarsals and metatarsals in the feet. Right there in the valley. Feet connecting to lower legs, forming ankles. And lower limbs hooking to knees. That's the 920 knees of patella that you can bow down at the name of Jesus. Thighs connecting to the pelvises and remnants of the children of Israel can sit at his feet and be blessed. More movement, 4,600 spinal columns have to come together. 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic vertebrae, 5 lumbar vertebrae, 5 sacral vertebrae, and 4 fused coccygeal vertebrae. Each one rising to the dirt, one on top of the other. Column that keeps our voices out, our bodies straight. 12 sets of ribs wrapping around from the backbone to the breastbone. Ribs like the one God took out of the Adam and put in the issue so we'd have Adam and Eve. Atop the rib cage is the shoulder girdle. 2 clavicles and collarbones. That's your mantle for service is being supported right there. 2 scapulas that look like wings of eagles. If you don't believe me, look at a skeleton sometime. You already got your wings. God just waiting to take them all the way out. 9,200 arms form one radius, one ulna, one humor in each arm. Arms are whole members of God's family in care and concern and love. Fingers are phalanges to attach to hands, to reach out, not to slap people around in church, but to reach out in love. Hands to touch and to heal and to help. And on top of all of this was the net for the shepherd, the leader chosen by God, not the media's sanction to guide the people so they don't go the wrong way. And God's engineering was not finished. A body's useless without the head. 4,600 crania of skulls are scattered across the valley, and God places each of them on the right skeleton at the right time. So God is the head, like the head of Christ, and the skulls house the mind so we can think of God's love and mercy. And there we have 4,600 skeletons standing in the valley. Had walked 900 miles. God is able to complete a good work in each of us. So God puts 37 trillion cells on each body. 640 muscles on each carcass that begin to form flesh and connective tissue, ligaments and tendons, smooth and striated. 320 nerves or 90,000 miles firing at 170 miles an hour so you could feel God's presence. 294 arteries and capillaries, 87 veins so the blood could warm in our veins. A tendon here and assorted tendon there and cartilage organs, diaphragms and livers and pancreas and gallbladders and kidneys and all the rest. One brain with 10 billion nerve cells so you can think of the goodness of God. One heart so you can love God. A pair of lungs so you can breathe in God's air. And on top of that, God put epithelial tissue, epidermis and dermis and hypodermis and little adipose. And some of us got a lot more adipose, but it's still there anyhow. Placed on top of the muscle in the color that God wants it to and not what you get out of a bottle. with the tone and texture God wants it. And God moves again and puts hair follicles that only God can number. Not what we put on, but what God can number. 10 fingernails and 10 toenails and eyebrows and eyelashes. 2 eyes so you can see God's glory. 2 ears so you can hear from God. A nose so you can sniff the fragrance of God. A mouth to praise God. Everything seemingly in order. The dead were reconciled, but that's not the end of the matter. When I was growing up, we just shout all over the church on that, but it ain't over yet. God has to energize each of them for service. Once a body is reconciled, once the church is filled, it's not a time for us to sit around and pat ourselves on the back. We got to pray for God to be in order so we can do God's business. So I believe God called the 4 winds from the corners of the earth with some serious CPR. Love blew in from the north, and forgiveness raced in from the south, and mercy came from the east, and grace careened in from the rest, blowing out all the stuff, the trash, the lies, the depression, anything that was not of God, all the anger and the idols out of the valley, the sins of the people no longer used to be, but now what can we do? No longer once upon a time, but now is the time mindset. Breath entered the valley and they live. They live. Can you see them standing in the valley? Gasping, death rattles leaving them, coughing some, taking off death and putting on life. Once lost but now found, once blind but now seen, once no people and not God's people. Hope was alive, but the crux of the matter is in verse 11. They say, our bones are dried out. Our hope is lost. We are completely cut off. They had heard the wrong report. Too many of us rely on they said and forgot what God said. That's why God says, just like in the valley, it's time to get up, shake the dirt of the world off of our atrophied minds and wipe the sleep out of our eyes and get ready for some divine direction. God says, I'm going to open up your graves and put you back where you're supposed to be. It ain't over till God says it's over. God says, I'm going to restore the hope of your salvation. I'm going to reconnect you with the right source of your being. I'm going to unearth some gifts that you put on lockdown because you thought you wanted to open them later on. You know, when I was growing up, my mama used to put plastic on the furniture. Right? And you only sit on it certain times. But she didn't know when you put plastic on it, it decays underneath the plastic. God says, I'm going to unearth some gifts that I placed in you. God says, remember, this is my world. I don't care what the television tells y'all. I created it. I run it. I decided when it started. I'm going to decide when it ends. I'm going to dispense my favor. You can't buy favor, throw money at my feet. You can dispense favor on my sons and daughters. I bless, I curse, I control. I open doors and I close doors. It's time for you to get a grip and understand that I am God. God says, in order for you to know that I am God, I'm going to open up your graves and bring you up from the grave. Not by power or by might, but by the Holy Spirit. I'm going to open up your graves. God says it's time to put aside our obituary columns, cancel the funeral arrangements, send the flowers back. I'm going to send my spirit on the very people that throw dirt on you. Remember, I created the dirt, so I got this, boo. Don't worry about it. God's going to open up your grave. I'm going to move some people out of your way, but I'll leave some around because you think you did it all by yourself. Take everybody away. I'm going to open up your grave and just understand that they can't stop my program. I don't have any room for I always got to be in charge of this judge, jury, and prosecution, executioner. And stop believing the committee report, believe God. I'm going to open up your burying places. I'm going to unearth and exhume and reveal and expose your crypts if I can't. Your shrines if I'm not smart enough. Your mausoleums if it's not my fault. Your sepulchres if they don't believe me. Your resting places I'm too old, too short, too young, too poor. Your tombs but I'm different, but I'm black. Your coffins of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Your caskets of the church won't follow me. The sarcophagus of people won't support me. The caves are caring about people more than you do your not caring about people, but always caring about yourself. The depression of always having to be right all the time. The holes of trying to be like everybody else instead of being who God created you to be. The cavities that never have a good thing to say about anything or anybody. The monuments of I was here when you came, Pastor. I'm going to be here with a Bishop Moon shoe. The pits of don't. It didn't work last time. Let's not do it again. The graves have got to be the HNIC of everything and don't show up unless you're the chair. God said, let's be clear. I'm the hope that springs eternal. Haven't I already brought you through more situations you face right now? I will open up your dark, dank, dirty, disgusting, depressed, disturbing, debilitating, disrespected, destructive, dying places in your life. And I'm going to put my spirit in you and you're going to live. I'm going to replace all that dead stuff you loving around and put some life up in you. The Spirit of God is going to reconcile and resurrect and regenerate and refresh and relive and recreate and redeem and rejuvenate and revive us. He says, then I'm going to put you on your own soil. God says, stop begging for a place at the table. Stop begging for a place in the group. Stop begging for a classroom. Stop begging for a neighborhood. Stop begging for a boat. Don't you know I own all of this stuff in here? What are you begging for? Stop selling your inheritance for a cup of instant gratification. God says, I'm going to give you your own little spot to stay. Hope is alive. Hold on to your hope. That the revelation continues. God says, I got something for you. And in my sanctified imagination, I hear God saying, as long as I'm God, hope is still present. Ancestors like Rich and Allen lived with a sense of urgency to actualize dreams and hopes. They knew the importance of tilling the soil of oppression, one rock at a time. Remember, we have come over a way that with tears have been wild. We are spitting in the face of our ancestors who get cowardly and turn around and run away. We need to reach beyond human demarcations and social constrictions of race and gender and class and sexuality and ability and residence. We need to rehearse the reality of it ain't over till God says it's over. God says when you hold on to your hope, then you have a spirit of I can do all things through Christ. That the forces in life present that faces us every day is not the end of the matter. I need you to hold on to hope so God can transport our xenophobia into zeal, our yelping into yes, our exclusion into expectancy, our withdrawal into watchfulness, our violence into vision, our usurpation into understanding, our tragedy into triumph, our superficiality and sincerity, our restriction into redemption, our qualms into quest, our prevarication into prudence, our oppression into opportunity, our neglect into nurture, our manipulation into mercy. Hold on until lethargy becomes liberality, killing becomes kindness, jealousy becomes judiciousness, intolerance becomes impartiality, hostility becomes humanitarianism, greed becomes generosity, fallaciousness becomes fulfillment, elitism becomes equality, destruction becomes deliverance, chaos becomes calm, bigotry becomes benevolence, and all of our apathy will turn into action, and nobody has to beg us to do anything because they remember that God blessed us in the first place. Class hope, cherish hope, clutch hope, cling to hope, grasp it, hold on to your hope, dreaming your own dreams and not taking somebody else's vision. Hold on to hope, believing that the Lord will make a way sometime. Hold on to your hope, always speaking the truth in love. Hold on to your hope until the lonely feel loved and the disease get well and the captives get paroled and the house has got a home and the naked get some clothes. Hold on to your hope till all the no-glories know that there's somebody in God's sight. Hold on with a weary throat till the Lord knows that God has blessed you. Hold on until every knee bows and every tongue confesses that Jesus Christ is Lord. Hold on with the courage of your conviction. Hold on, let nothing and nobody turn you around. Hold on without fear or apology or manipulation. Hold on till all the graves and the dead places in life open up and life springs new all over again. Hold on until darkness gets up and get out of life's way. Hold on regardless of who thinks they're in charge. Mothers and fathers used to say, hold on. Just a little while longer. Hold on. Just a little while longer. Hold on. Just a little while longer. Everything is going to be all right. I believe that God knew in 2018 some of us will be looking down instead of them looking up. Some of us will become married to negativity and not have an option for optimism. Some of us will prefer living in death-dealing valleys instead of life-affirming rivers. So our God, even the God of Rich and Allen, sent the one blessed hope. He took one Trinitarian conversation about the state of the whole world, one historical journey through 42 generations, one angelic announcement, one undercover assignment in the womb of a 14-year-old virgin, one no vacancy sign at a local hotel in one major. One night heaven and earth and couldn't quit singing, one trip to Egypt to avoid certain death. Took one 12-year-old trial sermon and 30 years of carpentry and teaching and delivering. One celebration that infected water converted to life-affirming wine and 30 recorded miracles. It took 12 lifetime employment interviews and 3 years of healing, teaching, and preaching. He took 3 recorded resurrections of believers and 1 calming of a raging sea. He took 1 feeding of 5,000 an outdoor revival one day and turned around the next day and fed 4,000 because black people don't believe it till you see it twice. 1 man transformed the sea and 1 blessing the children. To 1 parade toward destiny and one cursing of an unproductive fig tree. He took one crying jag over Jerusalem and one clearing of a temple, one last meal with his friends and one $30 betrayer. He took one garden prayer meeting and 3 sleeping watchmen, one losing plea bargain with his father, and one SWAT team arrest. He took one false charge, 3 kangaroo courts, one public hand washing, one parole of a convicted killer, one walk of the Via Dolorosa, and one public stripping. He took 39 lashes, 72 thorns, one cross, 3 nails, one pierced side, one ball and grain. He took 6 execution hours, one broken heart, one world of sin, one suicidal traitor, 10 friendly deserters, one casino at the foot of the cross, two thieves. This was on one side and guesses of the other, 7 crucifixion confessions, one sacrifice for the whole world, one empty tomb, one evangelist, one resurrection, one dispatch of a comfort, one promise to return, so that we in 2008 can hold on to your hope. Let me tell you, I'm a little bit old school, so I'm going to end this by saying my hope is built. Nothing less. In Jesus' blood and righteousness, I dare not trust the sweetest frame of the holy land. On Jesus' name, on Christ, not the Capitol Hill, on Christ, not the committee, on Christ, not a church, but on Christ, the solid rock I stand all on the ground. It's sinking and hold on to God.
Hold on to your hope. When your back is up against the wall, when you tied your last knot, when you've done all that you know how to do, hold on to your hope.